This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty, it's a Tolentino Tuesday, and it's time to talk a little Dolphins and a lot of good stuff to talk about after the Dolphins took care of business against Jacksonville. You can follow Josh on Twitter at JCT Sports and catch his work right now at The Athletic, where they're still giving it to you right now, $1 a month. So for $12, you can get a whole year's coverage of all your local teams and all the great national stories that they're constantly breaking at The Athletic. Josh, good afternoon, my friend. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, my man, Big O, what's going on? You know, it took 2 months last year for the Dolphins to get that first dub, and, you know, they've got to be feeling good, but they can't celebrate for too long, you know, getting this first victory in week 3 because, you know, a very tough opponent coming to Miami this weekend.
Yeah, well, look at the dude you cover every day. You think that guy's going to allow them to actually enjoy it more than 24 hours? I'm sure they take like that Heat attitude, like, okay, 24 hours and now we move on to the next opponent, that kind of stuff. I think Flo's one of those guys that's not going to sit on that. I mean, think about this. Look what happened last year after 0-7. They stayed in it, and then they ended up 5-4. And, you know, Josh, one of the things that I kept talking about, 0-2, that you were really competitive and you could easily say you could have won both games if a couple things go your way, and you end up on the short end. And that's why last Thursday I picked them to win, because I thought they were primed to win because they were playing good enough to win, something they weren't doing the first couple weeks of the season last year.
Yeah, definitely. I think specifically with that Bills game.
That's right.
That was very, very winnable. I mean, Josh Allen, he had, and, you know, we're seeing as the weeks progress that Josh Allen's the real deal, that he's really, you know, stepping into himself in year 3. But really, if the Dolphins secondary played any type of defense and didn't allow, you know, one of those 4+ plays of 40 yards completions to, you know, the various receivers, Stephon Diggs, that if they stop one of those, they probably win that game. So, you know, this team could be easily 2-1 as they are 1-2. So, but you bring up the culture, man. I'm loving that word, you know, getting acclimated still to the area. And, you know, I need to get myself a Miami Vice Heat jersey before the finals kick off, man, because, I mean, this is such a fun team to watch right now. And even Flo is wearing, you know, Miami Heat gear in a lot of his, you know, availabilities when we see him on Zoom. So a very exciting time to be in town.
Yeah, man, no doubt about that. It's fun to see what's going on, and it's nice to see that Flo also is there. I think that's a really, really cool thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, Josh, is the offensive line, my brother. I mean, they have done an outstanding job, and considering how nervous people were about the Laramie Tunsil trade, and I kept explaining to most folks that you cannot turn down that trade. You have to take that trade when they're offering you 2 1s a 2, and they're going to take $8 million off your salary cap with Kenny Stills. You got to make that move, and they did. And people were worried, well, you know, a left tackle is hard to find. Well, it looks like they found one right away in Austin Jackson.
Yeah, it's great you bring that up, because I'm actually I've got a pretty big Austin Jackson piece coming out here, probably tomorrow, if not within the next 2 days for sure. But, you know, talking to a lot of his former coaches, USC, his background, and just how prepared he was for this moment. You know, many are surprised, even him. We talked to Austin Jackson just yesterday afternoon, and he was talking about how he admits that last year, you know, his final year at USC, he was not the most consistent, you know, performer. That there were games where he was completely MIA, and, you know, through 3 games this week, I mean, you look at what the offensive line is made of. Only 1 returning starter in Jesse Davis and 4 newcomers, 2 vets. Usually there's going to be chemistry issues. It doesn't matter how much experience is on that line. When there's that much turnover, there's going to be, you know, chemistry issues, communication issues. So far, I mean, they've only given up 4 sacks, and I mean, that's pretty good, you know, considering the mess that offensive line was last year.
Yeah, no, I've been incredibly impressed with them overall. What are you hearing about Byron Jones? I know it's hard to get information. What's your gut tell you? Because he wasn't placed on the IR, so they got to feel like he's about to return.
I'm still not convinced that he's going to play on Sunday. I mean, they really do need him, especially against one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL in Russell Wilson. But with Byron, I mean, you look at what he did in Dallas. He was a complete Iron Man. He literally only missed one game in over 5 seasons. And here we are. He's on the verge of missing, essentially 2 or 3 here in Miami. So you got to think that groin injury, they didn't place him, like what you said, on the list. But, if he's close, maybe we see him on Sunday. But I'm kind of more lenient on the other side that he might not be ready.
Why? What's your gut tell you?
Yeah, because the significance of that injury is that groins are very tricky. It's like if you even just on especially with their movement with defensive backs and all that twisting and turning they have to do with their hips. I think the significant part of the injury is that this dude doesn't miss a game. I mean, he was nicked up and bruised up in Dallas, and I talked to some scouts and some of his former coaches over the past couple of days about, does this dude really miss games? Like, does he not? What's his mentality? And he's overcome a lot over the past 5 seasons. Definitely some games he could have sat out. So I think the fact that he missed this past game shows that, hey, it might be significant.
I hope he's there for this week against a guy like Russell Wilson. It would be nice. Let me ask you something, Josh. On the other side of the ball, is there enough being said about Devontae Parker's toughness? Because last year he got a concussion, and then we were worried about, okay, here it goes again. He's going to be the injury-prone guy. And he left in the second half of a game, comes back the following week, which we thought he wasn't going to play because of the concussion, and he gets 2 touchdowns. And he fought through a couple of nicks and knacks last year, and then this year he's got the hamstring issue, and he has stayed on the field to help his team. And then you got Preston Williams on the other side coming back from knee surgery, and this is a baby still in this league because this kid only has half a year experience, from last year. So he's basically playing the second half of his rookie year right now, and yet he's doing it on a knee that isn't 100%. I got to commend the toughness from both receivers, especially Devontae Parker, who has been so injury-riddled for so many years and had that label that, to me, in my eyes, he's kind of shed that label of the, soft and never there. I see a tough guy now, is what I see in Devontae Parker.
Yeah, when you look at the when the hamstring flared up in Week 1 against New England, he didn't come back in the second half. I had actually heard that following day, they had actually looked into it and everything came back clean. So it's really just that mental hurdle of, he knows that he's got some soft tissue injury history, risking it out there by, giving 110%, which by the way, you can clearly see that as much of a warrior that Devontae is right now and that he's trotting out there, he's clearly not 100%. The way he's getting out off the line of scrimmage and really competing with those corners, we know he's way more explosive than what we've seen these past 2 weeks. So it's clear he's not 100%, but I think it means a lot that he is getting out there, especially since Preston Williams kind of still is battling the same thing. Also a mental hurdle. I think it was a huge part of his development to get that touchdown this past week. Especially, it was essentially kind of the same route that he dropped in Week 2 versus the Bills. It was a slant route right at the goal line. This time he was able to catch it in much tighter coverage. So I think that will do that's a big step moving forward for Preston in terms of confidence level.
Are you looking at the Dolphins like they have a chance this week against the Seahawks?
It's going to be a fighting chance, though. Any time that you see one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and not just that, we saw how much this Dolphins defense struggled to contain the hybrid quarterback in Cam Newton and Josh Allen. Well, they got more of a pocket guy in Gardner Minshew in week 3, and they were able to hit him 10 times, 4 sacks. Russell Wilson and Gardner Minshew are not the same. So Russell Wilson presents a much more tougher challenge, similar to the quarterbacks they saw in week 2, and honestly, better than those guys. So it's hard to see the Dolphins winning, but who knows? Maybe this defense, gets that confidence they need in seeing that first dub, and also, sacking Minshew a handful of times, and maybe they bring it on Sunday. Maybe bring that juice and carry it over. But Russell Wilson, I think we've seen in these first few weeks that he's still one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
Now, do you know how bad Seattle's defense is?
Oh, we know they're bad, and not just that, we know that they're hurt. There's so many guys really on both sides that they're hurt. And you look at these next 2 weeks of the Dolphins' opponents, San Francisco the week after, Seattle this weekend. I mean, those are 2 winnable games, especially considering how banged up both teams are. Really just significant injuries to both teams on both sides of the ball. So
they've allowed
maybe that plays.
They've allowed 1,292 passing yards in the last 3 games. That's the most passing yards allowed in the first 3 games of an NFL season since 1950. And this is
I talked to Chan Gailey this morning, and one of the funniest things that he said is that it's not against the rules to start the game with 3 scoring drives. And I think our offense, once they saw that happen, once they had it happen on the field, that hey, it's not against the rules that we can score every drive. Let's go out and do it. So I think the confidence level of getting that first win and seeing rhythm and flow on both sides of the ball, attacking the quarterback with that front 7, I think that does play a big role moving forward. That hey, we're 3 weeks in and we got our first victory after last year. It took 2 months.
Yeah, that's why I think, Josh, they actually have a chance this weekend against them, because if Fitz is able to pass the ball against these guys, and not only the 2 receivers, but obviously Gesicki's playing out of his mind right now. He's playing great football, and Ford has really turned into a nice slot guy in the process. He's helped move the chain, and even I was looking at Jakeem Grant. He has caught every target that he's been thrown to. So it's things are pretty nice right now in that passing game. That this is actually an opportunity for the Miami offense to kind of build on what they did last week.
Yeah. You mentioned Jakeem Grant. I think he had the best game of his season, this past Thursday in Jacksonville. You think back to that catch that he made, a very diving type grab to a part where, he wasn't on the field. That Fitz threw it short, and he knew that Jakeem was going to make a play on the ball, and he was. And not just that. After he caught the ball, he still picked up 5-10 more yards after realizing he wasn't down. But one play I just want to talk about specifically with Jakeem is that Chan Gailey, he's showing some creativity. A lot of people were questioning, the first 2 weeks about, is this the right guy? Well, not only did we see rhythm and flow in their first few drives against Jacksonville, we saw some new wrinkles, specifically with Jakeem on an end around, picked up 30 yards. They did a fake handoff to Matt Breida, then Fitz throws to Jakeem, or hands it off, in the backfield, and Jakeem goes the other way for 30 yards. So, and, that also occurred on first down, so probably when the Jaguars weren't expecting it. So I think we're seeing a lot more from Chan Gailey, and like what you said, Jakeem Grant is starting to show out.
Josh Tolentino, by the way, for The Athletic, he joins us every Tuesday at this time at 12:30 to talk a little Miami Dolphins. And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter at JCT Sports. Before I continue with the Dolphins and Seattle, so you got your Rays winning it all? Is that what I saw on social media?
Yeah, I'm actually, helping out a little bit with coverage. They've got, obviously, all the games start tonight for the postseason. I actually think the Marlins, speaking, since we're on this side of the state, this side of town, I think they've got a really good chance against this Cubs team. I'm not really convinced by that Cubs bullpen and their pitching, being a Chicago native and seeing them over the past few years. So that was really the death of them last year. So I think the Marlins have a good chance to go into Wrigley and upset them. But yeah, I think the Rays, they're kind of built for this season. Though it's you think of all the creativity and analytics that goes into that team, and just so much differences in this season that I think this is their type of year to win it.
Yeah, I mean, hell, they won the division, which is impressive as hell. And in a season like this is actually the kind of season that the Rays could pull off. Yeah, you're probably right. This and it would be amazing, right? Because the Lightning won last night, the Stanley Cup. Can you imagine if the Rays end up winning the World Series, and if Tampa Bay and the Bucks actually make a run for the Super Bowl? The people out there could be living life large, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to Blake Snell last night, their Game 1 starter tonight against Toronto, and he kind of expressed to me the same confidence that they've really had all year. That like every team across the league, they faced a lot of injuries, but they feel like this is their type of year to win it with all the crazy scenarios and everything that they've gone through in terms of COVID protocols. That they're this crazy wacky team in this crazy wacky season. So you know what, maybe they might take it all.
Let's see, man. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm with you. I think the Marlins have a chance also because it's a 3-game set. I don't even the best team doesn't always win in a 3-game set in baseball because that's baseball. In basketball and in football, if you had to play a 3-game set, 95% of the time the better team is going to move on. But in baseball is the one sport that I can tell you the lesser team has an easier chance to pass in a 3-game set because the Marlins have 3 young pitchers that are pretty talented. And if a couple of those kids come in dealing, you got yourself a shot, man.
Yeah, and I think we've seen with the Heat in the bubble that even though Major League Baseball is having this home field advantage for, those top seeds, is it really home field advantage? Obviously, there's no fans. But the other thing, I've been speaking with some players over the past few days, they're not even sleeping in their own homes. I'm talking about the home team here. They're actually in their own bubble in like a local hotel.
Smart. At
each city. So, they're not even able to sleep in their own bed. So I think it's, more of a less home field advantage, if anything.
Yeah, that's smart stuff there. So, see, that's why you got to subscribe to Athletics so you can get some of your baseball coverage too there, and you can follow the playoffs there. All right, so Josh, when you look at the running game and you look at Myles Gaskin, I think you reported many times that he was the better player in training camp. Have you been surprised at what you saw in training camp translated to the regular season?
Maybe in terms of the workload, because anytime you add 2 veteran backs who are not just veterans, but also way more expensive than what they're paying Myles Gaskin, it's his second year in the league, you got to think that the workload would be more even. But, Flo is sending a message that is the hardest worker in practice, and not just that when they're trotting him out there, he's making the most of his opportunities. It really seems like Myles Gaskin is making that first defender miss almost every time he touches the ball. We're not seeing that from Matt Brito. We're definitely not seeing that from Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's kind of if you look at his stats, though, it's kind of nuts. He's got like 14 carries, 12 yards, 3 touchdowns, I think. So something around that area. So he's relegated to the short yardage goal, and unless anything changes, I think Myles Gaskin is going to be that RB1 moving forward.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm with you there, and I don't think Jordan Howard was ever going to be featured on this team. I think he's there for the short yardage stuff, so you don't wear Breida and Gaskins out with those short yardage plays, because obviously it takes a lot of pounding, and so that's what you got the big guy there for those kind of situations. Do you see anything changing in that room with the running backs?
I don't see anything really changing. I think they're going to continue to go with Myles, the hot hand. Matt Breida, they got to implement him more in some type of way, like in the slot back, slotting him on the outside, maybe multi-backs in that backfield, because he is one of the most explosive players in the NFL. Like, the advanced analytics show that he's one of the fastest guys in the league. So you've got to be able to utilize him. But I think everyone knows their role by now in this season, and if anything, we got to look on the other side of the ball at the cornerback situation, because with Byron Jones out, are they going to put Nick Needham back in there? I mean, it's really crazy with Needham's situation. He led the entire team in all cornerbacks in snaps last season, and he's basically been benched for 2 whole games this year. So, who are they going to rely on to, guard Tyler Lockett and all the many receivers, the weapons that Seattle has? Because Russell Wilson, again, we talk about it, it's going to be a huge challenge for Miami this Sunday.
No, with Noah, what'd you think of his last game here, second game starting? I thought he played well. I thought he obviously was a nice improvement overall.
Yeah, when we talk about Noah, really the one thing about Noah that I saw in camp is that really athletic in terms of if a ball was thrown his way, he would try his best to make a play, and usually he would, in terms of leaping and, getting in the way, being a disruption. Well, these past couple of weeks, it's been less about him being a disruption in the passing game. It's been more about, man, this dude is actually a good tackler. Like, he can tackle in the open field. We saw that a few times this past week, that, hey, if this guy beats Noah, this guy's going off for 20 yards, maybe a touchdown. But I think in the few instances that we saw Noah with an opportunity to make an open field tackle, that he wrapped up his guy, and he's showing ability there. So, he was burned week 2 against Buffalo, against, obviously Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. But in week 3, I think we saw a lot of signs that showed that he is a sure tackler.
Your thoughts on the safeties? How have they played so far?
Yeah, I think with Bobby McCain, one thing that sticks out is that I talked to Bobby last week, and I asked him, the way I phrased my question is, how comfortable are you here playing safety in year 2 of your adjustment? Obviously moved over from corner to safety. And his response was, he basically said that he's not comfortable, that I don't think he'll ever be comfortable. So it's, even though it is year 2 and there should be more a comfort level there, he's not going to be comfortable, because this is not a position that he grew up playing. So I think the best thing about Bobby is that he's the communicator on that back end. They've got Kyle Van Noy up front, Christian Wilkins on the line. Bobby McCain really holds it down in terms of telling guys where to go back, defending the pass. So they're going to need a lot of talking this Sunday against Russell Wilson.
I almost feel like, because, Josh, the way I've kind of read it since they took over, they want their safeties to have cover skills. They don't care if it's the strong safety or the free safety. Obviously, you should have some cover skills, and Bobby has that because he's a corner. And I almost feel like Bobby is taking one for the team, and that's and until the team finds the guy that they want to put there, they can't put him back to corner. And especially, at nickel or dime, where he could really help you out, because he's probably better suited for a nickel or dime, not to play on the boundary, where Noah's probably better suited to be a boundary guy at the same time. But I almost get the feeling that Bobby knows that he's kind of filling in, and he's doing it, kind of taking a bullet for the team. Do you get the same, feeling too?
Yeah, definitely. I think his mindset is a lot better or a lot different than Micah Fitzpatrick. Obviously, I think we all know that situation, and a very similar scenario of them trying to move him in positions, and that can even extend up to the front 7 with Raekwon McMillan, not being able to, a very good run stopper, and he actually started for the Raiders this past week, but wasn't able to adapt and defend the pass as well as Flo and Josh Boyer would have liked. So with Bobby, I think they like Bobby, and not just that they understand that this isn't his position, but again, I think it goes back to his communication skills, that because those translate, those move all over the field. Doesn't matter if you're playing corner, nickel, back at safety. In Bobby's case, is that he's a talker, and he makes sure guys know, or at least tries to put guys in position of where they should be pre-snap, which is a very big thing. And I feel like every conversation we've had this call comes back to Russell Wilson, because again, one of the best signal callers in the league, and they're going to need a lot of communication when they line up on Sunday.
I'm with you there. One more thing I got to ask you about the offensive line. Josh Tolentino, of course, from The Athletic, joining us every Tuesday at 12:30. You can catch him here. Before we wrap it up, Josh, what are you hearing from all the backup linemen? Because the starters have played so well, and I think by now we all would have expected a rotation, trying this guy, trying that guy, different combinations. In a short offseason, they nailed on the 5 guys that are playing really well. What are you hearing about the backups right now?
Yeah, one thing that stuck out today and talking with Chan Gailey just a few hours ago was that he's liked what Robert Hutt has done in practice. And, we're not able to see that right now with them closing doors to practice. We only see them warm up and stretch and all that before they actually start practice. Mm-hmm. But you got to trust Chan's word that Robert Hunt is having a good practice here this first month, and that if there weren't such great communication and chemistry right now between the 5 best guys that they picked, with Eric Flowers, Austin Jackson, Solomon Kinley, Jesse Davis, and who am I missing there? I'm blanking out, but those 5 guys that Robert Hunt, like what you alluded to, might have been featured already, but all these 5 guys, they've held it together, and there haven't been any huge.
Did you mention Solomon Kinley?
Solomon Kinley, yep, the rookie from Georgia. So,
right.
If those 5, if they weren't playing as good as they have right now, I think we would have seen Robert Hunt by now. But you know what? Everything's going so well so far, so good for them, and that they're going to carry that unit moving forward. And again, I really think they've really been impressive. Austin Jackson, again, I got a story coming out on him. Wrote about Solomon Kinley earlier, but the 2 veteran guys in the middle, I think that plays a big role. That, hey, we've got rookie guys on the outside, on the sides, but in the middle, Ted Karras, we've got a veteran, we've got Eric Flowers, and then obviously Jesse Davis. So this unit has been impressive through the first 3 weeks.
And Josh Tolentino, always impressive with us every Tuesday at 12:30, Dolphin fans. So keep it locked here, and we'll podcast it like we do every single week. Follow him on Twitter at JCT Sports. Catch his work there at The Athletic. Josh, enjoy the baseball and enjoy the football, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, Big O, I appreciate it, man. Let's throw it back one second. Who's taking the dub on Sunday? I mean, this is a really tough challenge, like what we talked about with Russ.
What? Who's taking what? I'm sorry?
Who's taking the victory, the dub? That's what the
the
dub.
The dub. Well, I'm going to take Dolphins plus 6.5. I can tell you that. I think they can actually keep it close. I think Seattle ends up pulling off a close one here, to be honest with you. But I think Miami's going to be really competitive, and I think they have a shot just because that secondary has been so bad for Seattle that maybe Fitz can actually hang in there with him and put up some points. And they're the ones that have got to travel 3,000 miles. So they're the ones I think. And not just that, we got to remember, we're playing in Miami. I'm about to walk outside here after a run, and it's 95 degrees heat index right now. It's definitely not that in Seattle right now. So I think this, these September, October games are, when the Dolphins really have to take hold of that home field advantage. And you know what? If we see the Fitz in the first half that we saw last week of, damn near perfect, that I really do think that they have a shot at, maybe Fitz outduels Russ. Ever since I was a kid, my brother, standing in that, in the Orange Bowl in the heat, and I constantly watch teams wilt in September and November, and Shula always loved those 1 o'clock games because he knew his team was going to take advantage of the conditioning. So you are correct. If you're a Miami team, you want Sunday 1 o'clock games in the first couple months of the season. That is an enormous advantage, and especially for a team coming from Seattle where they don't face the kind of humidity that they do here every single day. So I'm with you there. Hey, one more thing before I let you go. How in the F does Dan Quinn and Adam Gase still have jobs?
You know what? I'm going to be nice to, those guys up in New York, New Jersey right now. I mean, it's really tough to see. I mean, and then you brought up Atlanta. I mean, being a Chicago native, I thought the Bears were way out of that game. They had no chance. And, obviously they went to Nick Foles, and Nick Foles does what he does. I mean, he's just like Fitzmagic that he gets in there and he wins. So, but you keeping it specific to the division, I really think that, a couple more of these performances in New York, that Gase might be one of the first to, get that phone call, get that nod in the office. But, we'll see. The thing is, the one thing that I've been kind of talking about with just guys on the beat is Gase going to be there when the Dolphins play them? They actually play them in back-to-back weeks later in the season. They play, I believe, New York. In Miami, they host the Jets, and then they've actually got a bye week. And then the first week after the bye week, they travel up to MetLife. So, very interesting schedule positioning there. And who knows who's the coach by then? But I think he sticks around. By that point in the season.
I hope he does, bro. It would be fun to beat him twice this year, because I think the Dolphins will end up beating him twice. I mean, watching Sam Darnold just regress is just scary under that guy. It is baffling to me. And then the other guy chokes away big leads left and right. It's a weird thing how those guys still have jobs. Follow Josh on Twitter, JCT Sports, and catch his work there at The Athletic. Josh, as always, my brother, thank you for taking some time. Enjoy the week and enjoy the football.
Big O, Tolentino Tuesday. I appreciate it, my man. We'll chat next week.
You got it, baby. You be good. It's a Tolentino Tuesday. There we go. That's how we get it done. Tolentino Tuesday. That's what it's all about.